9 tank cars burning, a locomotive ripped apart, and a supply line severed. All of it, according to sources, executed remotely for less than the price of a second-hand car. A team calling itself Shkit 91 planted a single directional mine, derailed the lead cars, and then watched as 4 FPV drones turned the wreck into a raging inferno. But the most remarkable part wasn't the explosion. It was the invisible fiber link that made sure no evidence survived. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. The operation began long before any explosion, inside a quiet rail yard guarded by searchlights and patrol dogs. A man in a dark blue maintenance coat walked along the edge of the junction between Stroganovo and Machinskaya. He carried a metal case marked Inspection Kit, and the patch on his arm showed the logo of a regional rail contractor. No one could have guessed that inside that kit was a custom directional explosive, machined to fit a rail fastener just wide enough to look like a repair part. The man belonged to a small sabotage group known as Shkit 91, which had one clear mission that night: sever the only rail line still feeding Russian fuel to the southern defensive belt near St. Petersburg. Every step toward that junction carried risk. Patrols rotated at 20-minute intervals, dogs swept the perimeter twice an hour, and random inspections by depot guards could occur at any time. The operative timed his movements to the train yard's rhythm. The moment a shunter engine drowned out every other noise, he moved. He hugged the track, slid the casing into place, and froze whenever the searchlight beam crossed the ballast. Twice, the alarm system flickered red, detecting brief motion. Both times, wind moved a piece of tarp lying in the gravel, masking his presence entirely by chance. Rather than planting multiple devices across the length of the train, the group decided on a single directional charge aimed at the lead coupling. The goal wasn't to destroy all the cars. It was to cripple the line beyond immediate use. A focused blast could lift the coupling, flip the first tank cars, and block the route with steel wreckage. The absence of a massive explosion would mean no instant artillery retaliation and no quick discovery of the infiltrator's path. Precision replaced spectacle. Stealth traded with destruction, and in that trade lay the success of the mission. Directional explosives concentrate their energy like a lens catches light. Instead of expanding outward in every direction, the explosive force channels along a defined vector. Engineers design the metal liner inside the charge so that the blast forms a narrow stream of molten metal, cutting through targets with extreme efficiency. That design limits collateral effects and makes sabotage operations far easier to conceal. The operative's device delivered its entire force forward, splitting the coupling as cleanly as a hydraulic blade. Such control turns a standard high explosive into a targeted instrument. Enough power to derail, but not enough to light up a radar network. The final step was the trigger. A thin fiber line buried beneath the crushed rock of the track's edge snaked toward a concealed relay post. From there, the signal would run through an optical uplink, allowing remote detonation without a single radio emission. Hours passed before the command came through. At exactly 3:12, the track shuddered and the coupling vaporized. The first cars toppled like dominoes, twisting the line into a heap of metal and diesel vapor. Within seconds, the train stopped moving, blocked at the narrowest choke point on the route. That single strike, worth roughly $10,000, had halted more than 2 million pounds of diesel from reaching forward positions. The explosion was small, but the result immense. The supply artery broken, yet the attackers remained invisible. No drone, no satellite, no ground patrol detected how it had happened. As the faint smoke drifted through the yard, the mission entered its second half. Far from the wreck site, in an unmarked control shelter sheltered under a camouflaged net, another operator adjusted a lens. What came next required no more footsteps, no disguises, and no direct presence at all. From a hidden command post more than a kilometer away, a thin fiber snake carried video, control, and eventually, silence. In that cramped shelter, lit by the glow of a single monitor, the operator connected his terminal to a reel of dark optical wire running underground through a drainage path toward a flat patch of open terrain. On the screen appeared a faint shimmer, the distorted image of the derailed fuel cars. The fiber line was their lifeline, connecting to a buried uplink that relayed camera feeds from a concealed UAV hovering in near darkness above the accident site. Its propeller blades turned as slowly as possible to avoid thermal detection, keeping it steady while transmitting real-time data down the cable. The setup worked like an invisible nervous system, each part connected only by glass strands too small to reflect any radar pulse. That choice of fiber wasn't about convenience. Any wireless signal could have betrayed their presence to Russian signal intelligence, which scanned constantly for unfamiliar frequencies along transport corridors. The team needed clarity without radio exposure. By moving the data through optical lines, they created a closed path. No external emissions, no traceable ping. The challenge, though, was speed. The operator still needed a clear image to guide the next step, and that meant sending high-bandwidth video through a cable that had to stay portable, waterproof, and hidden beneath gravel. The fiber reel functioned flawlessly. Within minutes, telemetry arrived, allowing the operator to confirm which tank cars held the most fuel and which remained intact enough to burn. A short distance from the wreck site, under tarps disguised as soil mounds, rested 4 FPV drones. Each was stripped of any serial number or factory marking. The pilots had installed new control boards optimized for low-latency analog video, but the signal link itself traveled through the wired uplink. That meant no open broadcast, no detectable radio chatter. Every drone had been pre-assigned. 2 for tank cars in the center, 1 for the rear car heavy with diesel, and 1 for the locomotive. The team had built the warheads using repurposed anti-armor charges small enough to fit the drone frames, yet powerful enough to pierce the steel shell of a tanker. When the command pulse arrived through the link, motors whined to life. The first drone sped off its pit, climbed barely 10 meters, and darted straight toward the flipped coupling. Its strike sent sparks ripping across pooled diesel on the tracks. The second drone waited 3 seconds, then banked toward the right flank where fuel had begun spilling under pressure. That hit spread fire beneath the remaining cars, feeding the blaze. The third descended from the far side and struck the central tank, doubling the heat signature until the wreck radiated like a lighthouse on infrared. Finally, the last drone plunged into the locomotive's cab, its detonation collapsing the engine compartment and sealing the line in molten metal. Back in the control post, the operator watched the signal stutter as heat waves saturated the video. When the firestorm reached full strength, he entered a brief sequence on his keyboard. Seconds later, the fiber uplink stopped transmitting. Built into the line was a small thermite burn charge timed to activate once the final command was sent. It melted the fiber core and consumed every centimeter within reach, destroying all evidence of direction or origin. Where the line had been, only a trail of glass residue remained, undetectable, inert, erased. That was the secret of their invisibility. The entire operation unfolded through glass threads, not airwaves. No radios, no electromagnetic footprint. Counter-surveillance teams searching for interference found nothing. The burning train looked like a mechanical accident, but it was precision-controlled through a silent physical link. It demonstrated that control could travel through hidden cables just as effectively as through satellites or encrypted radios, only cheaper and infinitely harder to trace. The $10,000 strike's real impact wasn't the destruction. It was the precision. A small team proved that timing, distance, and invisibility could dismantle what brute firepower couldn't. In a conflict dominated by missiles worth millions, a cable laid under gravel and a handful of home-built drones severed a fuel line that fed entire battalions. Every decision, from where the fiber ended to when the trigger pulsed, showed planning over power. Modern logistics wars depend less on who fires more and more on who stays unseen. And sometimes, the quietest tool decides the costliest campaign before anyone knows it began.